Our next reader hails originally from Long Island and holds an MFA from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Her essays and stories have appeared in the anthology Gravity Pulls You In, Perspectives on Parenting Children on the Autism Spectrum, in Brain Child, the magazine for thinking mothers, and in The Examined Life, a literary journal of the University of Iowa Carver College of Medicine. Coming to our mic for the first time, please welcome B.E. Pinkham.
Low, very, very low. Thank you. I'm going to read the beginning of Let Me Look at You, which is an unpublished memoir about my intense obsession with the movie Bridget Jones's Diary that helped me find peace and strength as a parent. This opening chapter is kind of the dark before the dawn, or the roller coaster car that teeters at the top before the fun starts. So take that into account, but this excerpt has two parts, and I'll take a breath and a pause in between them, so just listen for it and wait. December 2001, darkness crammed with noise, 3:16 a.m., the security system. It might have been Stuart. He might have gone out the back door like he did in the summer, barefoot. My feet hit the carpet. Halfway down the stairs, the alarm's second verse rocked my still dreaming mind. Whoop, whoop, blat, blat. I considered the other possibility, burglars. Wouldn't they get a kick out of me squinting in my righteously pajamaed nakedness? Might I suggest the computer in the dining room or the DVD player? Punching the code into the keypad in the kitchen replaced the blare of the alarm with the hush of wind, combing bare branches and washing windows. Peace. Of course, Arnell slept through it. His hearing loss had progressed that far by then. The keypad indicated the door to the second floor porch was open, but I stepped into the spare room off the kitchen, Stuart's therapy room, and flipped on the light. Two cats blinked at me from the corner. I left them to check the locks on the front and back doors, reassuring myself that Stuart had to be inside. A heavy chill rolled down the stairs as I climbed back up. I pushed the porch door closed with two hands, securing both locks this time. It was only a gust, only me forgetting to check the door at bedtime. A week before, the neurologist had watched Stuart exploring his exam room, talking to himself about trains and monkeys, hitting walls and spinning chairs. Arnell said, "Stuart will be 9 in February, and I have to ask, do you have any idea what he'll be like when he's older? Can you give us a clue about what will happen when puberty hits?" I was trying to keep Stuart from unwinding the exam table paper onto the floor. The doctor smiled awkwardly. Kids with autism either learn to self-regulate in puberty or they don't. He's a big guy already. He may become very difficult to manage. I knew that he meant violent. I'd already seen it coming in the increasingly frequent tantrums. If the house alarm had awakened Stuart, we would both be up for the day, and I needed to sleep. I held my breath at the door to his room, listening until sure of his deep, even breaths. Next, I nudged the dimmer up in Eve's room, her body curled around the stuffed pig in the nest of her bed. She and I had already had our first big scene, the one I'd been expecting since she was born. Something had happened. I guessed that she'd sat on the floor beside Stuart and tried to play with the trains on his track. He probably whined at her, but she ignored him. Finally, he brought his fist down on her leg, and then she came crying to me. Sibling rivalry's normal, right? But she was 3 and knew there was more to it. She asked why her brother was like that. Why was he different from other kids? Of course, she'd heard the word autism all her life, but I had to explain to her right then what it does to him, how it causes his lack of awareness of her feelings, even though he loves her, even though he always worries that I might accidentally leave her behind at the speech therapist's office, or that she's lost when she's playing at a friend's house. I got through all those matters of fact for her calmly, and then she asked the really important question. When would he learn to talk and share like the other kids' brothers? I was not prepared for that, so the truth made us both cry. She had to ask someday, but I thought I had more time. And beneath that rational guise, I felt I wouldn't need to prepare anything because With all the therapy he'd had, he would be getting better. I could wait, but I couldn't let myself be whole until he was. Except last week, the doctor had certified my fears. Nothing we had done or could do was going to protect Stuart. Nothing would stop the next year and his next birthday from happening. Back in bed, my mottled cat pushed her wet nose into my hand. She stretched and purred. 3:19 a.m. Arnell, warm and oblivious, snored softly. Eve told me that Daddy couldn't hear her screaming while I was on my solo trip to New York in September. Luckily, she wasn't hurt, just frustrated and crying in the bathtub by the time he checked on her. But I knew I'd never again leave my kids alone with my husband with a clear conscience. My neighbor, Frank, said that he sometimes saw me puttering in the kitchen when he walked his dogs in the park behind our house. "It looks beautiful in there. What a happy family." You wouldn't think that if you could hear the screaming inside. Frank seemed to believe I was joking, instead of smacking him with the truth because I was angry. People were always pissing me off that way, telling me what a great job I was doing for Stuart, what a wonderful mother I was. I'd spent 6 years trying to be that wonderful mother, trying to stop any bad stuff from happening to us, trying to cure autism, and every day I got angrier about failing. In bed, I turned my back on my cat and my husband. Stuart would be awake in less than 3 hours. It was the first weekend of the kids' winter break. I needed to sleep. It was a horrible mistake to be permanently angry, to feed grudges on self-pity and prune them into the shape of my losses. Failure, weakling, selfish, loser, lazy, angry, asshole me who can't accept what ought to be old news. Stuart has autism. Dumb to keep fighting, keep losing, keep hiding, sad and virtuous, bitter and efficient, I had locked myself and my family inside an odd topiary garden. "Look," I imagined passers-by saying, "they're a smiling steam engine, a busy engineer, a little monkey, and a mommy monster. What a beautiful job she's done. How lifelike." "No, you're wrong," I would mumble at the kitchen sink. "Who'd want to go through life with a life like that?" Some others would comment. "What is the alternative?" I'd ask. I imagined sobbing, imagined vomiting, imagined smoking a cigarette. I allowed myself none of those. In bed, I took a deep, calming breath, not yet aware that I had exiled a strong, unripe piece of myself on the day I was informed my son had a disability. I was not yet aware I needed that piece. I needed to get that piece back to move forward. I was only aware I had to take care of my kids without losing my mind. But I wondered constantly what insanity felt like losing control, like a release. Was there choice involved? There couldn't be. Anyone able to hang on to free will and make moral choices was not truly insane. I would not choose to let go ever. But what would happen if I fell? I did not think that I was already depressed or that I was already in an emotional crisis. And I certainly didn't think that I would be given a tiny push and take that fall in 2 weeks. I thought I would go on forever because I had to. That night, I breathed tenderly to myself, visualizing white silk blowing over my tumbled marble mind, a broom sweeping snow, a gull drifting over sand, wings lifted, landing, feathers folded. I needed to sleep, and I did. October 1995. Peggy, Stuart's preschool teacher, asked me to stay. It's not the first time. The other mothers are matching 2-year-olds to jackets and taking home today's pumpkin faces, still sticky, while I sit waiting in a small chair. Stuart is on his knees with a truck, his loose blonde curls fringing his face, and a ruffle of diapers sticking out of blue sweatpants. One last woman remains with her daughter back in the play kitchen. Their puppets are cooking lunch. "He's still putting toys in his mouth unless he's got the pacifier," Peggy says. "Could you get one of those leashes to clip it to his shirt?" "Yeah, okay, sure," I say, thinking, I can't tell his doctor about this. Stuart says lots of words, 100 nouns, but doesn't put them together. No sentences, no questions. Just last week, the doctor told me that he'd talk as soon as we could get that pacifier out of his mouth. Believing that has been like a week-long vacation for me. He loves our songs, but he won't sit still for story time, so I just hold him right next to me. That helps. She leans closer to watch my face as I watch Stuart. He's on his back now, humming, and she is twinkling at me, damn it. How, after decades of experience, can this woman still have the patience for 2-year-olds and their parents? Thank you for doing that. I meet her eyes as briefly as possible, hoping a quick jab of sincerity will do. The soft laugh, the high voice, and blonde gray bun. She has all the features I associate with a life of self-sacrifice. I try not to hold that against her. But Ellen, he spends an awful lot of time just lying on the rug, and he doesn't look up when I call him. We both look at my son lying on the rug. You know, he won't follow even the simplest instructions, and he doesn't seem at all concerned when another child is crying. I don't see that at home. He's a very affectionate child. He's just, you know, busy, so deeply focused when he's playing that he doesn't want to be bothered. The puppets are still brandishing spatulas, but their dialogue's gone flat. That mother is not good at pretending. It's more than just being busy. I think it's likely he has a language processing problem. Processing? I keep looking at Stuart. He's on his belly, rolling the truck close to his face. Yes, language processing. He hears us, but I don't think he can understand what we're saying. I really think he may need a little help, you know? You ought to look into it. Oh, thanks, Peggy. By now, I'm standing, backing away from her. I pick up Stuart, his coat, his pumpkin, and carry them out of the room. Hustling down the hallway, I kiss his curly blonde head. In the car, homeward, straight south through Evanston into Chicago, Stuart bounces his sneakers against the seat. My heart pounds. The outside world slows, distorts. The road is too narrow. The retaining wall of the train embankment too close. Peripherally, I distinguish individual stones in the concrete. Frontally, I track the path of each yellow honey locust leaf swirling in the wake of the car ahead. I check the speedometer, holding myself to a calm 35. An hour before, I'd believe Stuart to be normal. Normal kids talk by 3. He would be 3 in February. But Peggy's made me lose my grip on that image. Now it blows farther away with each second. I want to dive in and swim after it, as if I'm on the beach and it's summer again, as if I'm 11 and watching my oldest sister standing in her bikini at the wheel of our father's boat, pushing the throttle forward, my other sister holding her long hair back, shouting into her ear. They were teenagers, successfully ditching me. I screamed at the cuts of white foam fanning out behind them, feeling a cold spark of relief that they would not turn to witness my humiliating outrage. Now, they have their kids and their lives in eastern states, but just last summer we were together again on that same Long Island beach, watching Stuart chase the waves, and we all agreed, he's smart, he's sweet, busy and rambunctious, but an interesting kid. Everyone says that. When Stuart and I reach the kitchen, I phone Arnell. I need him to come home immediately. I tell him why. He says he's fixing a machine for an important job. One of the company's owners was editing a spot when the equipment broke. Anyway, he sure as Peggy's wrong. I shouldn't worry. Stuart is fine. And the client is sitting there waiting for him to fix the thing so they can work. He can't come home. I hang up. He's chief engineer at a company that makes spots, nationally aired TV commercials. He's always been good at fixing things, but I know he's wrong about Stuart. I pace the kitchen with my head spinning. I make Stuart's lunch. He's happy, kicking his legs in his high chair, licking peanut butter off bread. Is that good, Bunny? I wait for a reply. Huh? Do you want more? No response. I can't remember if this is how he has always been. I can't remember it ever bothering me before. I give him apple slices. He looks at them and says, apple. He's been doing that since he was a year old. Good boy! Great. Peggy's turned me into one of those idiots testing and praising my child like a dog. Later, Peggy calls. She's never called me before. She's interrupting another crying jag. The first one started when the pacing subsided. The second after I put Stuart down for his nap. Yeah, I'm okay, I lie. She is unfailingly wise and kind. I just can't relate to that. You know, I wish we could go for a walk and hold hands this afternoon. That would be nice, I say, thinking, please go to hell. It will all work out. Stuart may be a difficult child, but he'll be a great joy and a good person in the end. Of course, you will have to reorder your priorities. His problems will keep you focused. He will make you a better parent. She thinks this is about me. She thinks I'm going to be like her. No thanks. I was happily planning to be a mediocre mom. Well, congratulations, she says. You're going to have an interesting life. Who the fuck would say that? I sob into the telephone.